Hello, Linked Out.
Hey, Linked Out.
Hey, Linked Out. We missed you.
Outies.
We didn't go anywhere. We did go somewhere.
We did go somewhere. We absolutely
But you didn't know
did.
that.
We were in Tucson.
Tucson,
Arizona.
Two-stepping in Tucson. Dry as fuck. It was so dry.
It was very dry. The climate is quite dry in Tucson.
Drier than our unbeatable sense of humor.
Drier than our job spell. Dry.
Drier than... I'm not going to say anything dirty because this is a PG
family podcast.
This is a family pod.
This is a family podcast. No, but the food in Tucson
The
was
food
really
in Tucson
good.
was so good.
It was surprisingly good.
I've been telling everybody about it.
Yeah, we had some really good meals. Then they also have like quite a culinary scene in Tucson.
Quite a culinary scene.
So.
I'm as shocked as anybody. So we went to a conference. We took the pod on the road, and we're going to tell you everything and anything about our trip, and we're going to sprinkle in some of our regularly scheduled content. And first, we're going to play the fucking intro. Welcome to Linked Out. Welcome to Linked Out, the podcast that won't help you get a job, but will make you feel better about not having one.
Okay, great. So yeah, we were in Tucson this past week for our conference, which was a like tech, creativity, and entrepreneurship conference. And
Startups.
Yeah, it was Startup Tucson.
Small
the name
businesses.
of the conference was 10 West. And we spoke on Wednesday of the conference. And we gave a panel on bots, burnout, and the uncertain future of sharing your message. So,
Yes. So our first
kind
panel,
of a big deal.
Linked Out's first panel, it was really cool to talk about like the stuff that we've been talking about on this podcast for however many months we've been doing this podcast for now.
Yeah, it was cool to see people like responding to what we were saying in real time too, because like some people were definitely nodding their heads. I saw a few people laugh.
I saw a few people laugh.
I saw some laughs. I feel like we thought that the talk was, you can like RSVP. So we saw that there was going to be like 45 people there, and there was probably actually like 10, but
I feel like there was like 20.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah, I feel like there was 20 people.
I'm really bad at like estimating how many people are in a room.
She's like, we were in an empty room.
I'm like really
with
bad
one
at this.
guy.
I literally don't know. If you told me there was 100 people in there, I'd been like, yeah, there was 100 people.
There was about 285 people there.
Okay. Felt less, but I mean, I'm probably wrong.
The room was small.
No, it was cool. It was like, and we got to wear our new jumpsuits.
We have matching jumpsuits,
which were
if you guys haven't been checking out our social media that's been popping off lately.
Yeah,
we are wearing our matching jumpsuits in some of them.
Well, I did a post on Instagram, so you'll see the suits are prominently featured there.
And TikTok's coming in hot.
Yeah, I mean, I could post something there too, I guess. But we had a really good time, and we like got a few new listeners. So shout out to those people. I hope you're listening still.
Yes, I hope you're listening still, or I hope you did listen and you're continuing to listen. But we wanted to talk about the importance of face-to-face interactions, because this is something that we talk about a lot on this podcast, is getting out of the apps and getting in front of people's faces. Really, I think is, again, one of the ways that that like I've seen people get jobs in this shitty market.
Yeah.
And, we do always say that this podcast won't help you get a job, but it will make you feel better about not having one. But sometimes we have tips that we've seen work for other people, and we're not claiming this is going to get you a job, but I definitely think that this has more value than any of the advice you could get out there on the platforms or like from recruiters or like job coaches or resume coaches and shit like that.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about that too in our like panel. We were like, you know, we touch grass, meet people like in real life at conferences like this, you know, people in the room, you're already doing this, but like the value of like actually talking to people and explaining like what we're doing. And it was just really cool. And, you know, it's mostly just me and Brit here at the studio yapping to each other. It's nice to yap to other people and like see them nod their heads or like look confused. That was, you know, that's fine too.
That's fine too. Just, it's good to see reactions in person.
Yeah.
And as much as, we push the work from home initiative, it is nice to see people face to face. And again, like promoting your own brand. Like we were saying, I've been to like advertising things before when I've been at companies, to talk about, and, I've gone out with like clients that we've had and stuff like that. But like talking to people about your own brand and, company that you're trying or podcast that you're trying to start is like a whole different situation.
Yeah. It was really cool to see people be like, I mean, and this maybe sounds kind of like I'm bragging, but I'm not, but it was cool to see people be like, oh, that's a good idea. Or like, oh my God, that sounds funny. I would listen to that or whatever. It was just like, I don't know. You don't get a lot of that kind of face-to-face feedback, not from people who don't know you. Like these are people who don't know us. So
right.
It was cool to see that too.
Definitely. And of course, like we do get the incredible emails that keep us going from people being like, I love your podcast, which like really like gets us through to the next one.
Yeah.
But also like going to people face to face and having them be like, wow, that's a good idea. I'm going to listen to your podcast. Even if they're not, it just feels good to hear them say it to your face.
Yeah.
They can lie to me, lie to my face.
Yeah.
Send me an email telling me you like it, even if you don't.
Yeah.
No, or, I'm open to feedback. Send me an email saying that you hate our guts. I would love to get a hater.
Yeah.
When you know you've made it when you have haters.
That's for sure.
They're just like, I listen to podcasts of people that I hate all the time.
Yeah. Can confirm.
And I'll be like, and they'll be like, are you enjoying this podcast? And I'll be like, no. 1 star bitches.
No, I'm not. I hate this podcast.
That's why I
listen to it. Yeah. No, but that's a real thing. I mean, and like even so on the third day of the conference, there was
on the third day of conference.
On the third day, the conference gave us a gift in the form of a session that was about podcasting.
Yes.
And that was cool. But there was obviously other people in the room who had podcasts. And there was someone in the room who we really dropped the ball. We didn't find out what his podcast was called. But
we really needed to get that guy's podcast.
But if anybody knows this guy, he probably always wears the same outfit.
He only has the one outfit.
Or like some version of that outfit. Like it was clearly, he had this gold lame flat bill hat with a like metal $sign on it.
What is lame?
Lame is like,
is it
that
like meshy?
Like shiny material. No, it's like shiny. It was kind of shiny.
Yeah, it was gold. It's
bright, like a synthetic material.
Bright gold.
It was bright gold. It was shiny
gold. It looked like,
gold.
I don't know if anybody, here's one. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the tacky ass Donald Trump like high top sneakers, but they are also gold.
Yeah.
And his sneakers looked like those.
They might have been.
And I don't think they were, but I mean,
the
like
sneakers matched the hat.
Tacky ass gold,
unfortunately.
High top sneakers, gold hat with a $sign on it.
But like to his credit, which by the way, we can't give him any credit because we never figured out who he was.
We don't know. We wanted to hate listen to his podcast.
We really wanted to hate listen to his podcast, and like he wouldn't care. It's just another listen for him.
Exactly.
It's just, and then also like I mean, I think we toe the line. I at least mentally do. And I think I've talked to you about this of like, we wore our jumpsuits for our talk.
Yeah, we did.
Which had linked out on the back.
It was so hot.
It was so hot, but
it was hot as in like we looked sexy and also we were sweating.
And also we were sweating. But that was kind of the only time during the conference we wore them because it was so hot.
But we were going to wear them the whole time.
There's a fine line. All I was going to say is there's a fine line between like visual branding and just a gimmick.
Yeah.
And like this was very much reading gimmick. Whereas what I think, I think what we were doing was visual branding. And,
what he was doing,
I don't know. It was just gimmicky.
It was gimmicky. Whatever.
It was gimmicky.
The
but
thing,
you know what?
The thing
he
about
has a lot of listeners according to him. So
the thing about this guy
what
was
do we know?
We needed to know how much more successful this douchebag was than we are in the podcasting
It keeps
space.
us going.
Because he was so awful. He asked all of these he was just he raised his hand to ask questions, basically like bragging about his podcast.
Yeah, his question was, why am I so good at podcasting?
Why am I so good at podcasting?
Why do I have so many followers?
I have so many. He's like, the guy's like, how many podcast apps do you have? And he's like, coming up on 120.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow. And he's like, well, I actually get paid to do it. So I want to know how this douchebag gets paid to podcast, because that's the kind of douchebag I want to aspire to be.
Yeah.
Is the kind that get paid to do podcasts, which I love doing.
Yeah.
So why this douche, and why lots of the other douchebags whose podcasts I listen to and not us is basically what the code we're trying to crack here.
And then I looked through, I even went to the trouble of looking through the entire list of attendees to try and figure out which one he was, but I couldn't figure it out.
We couldn't figure it out. And we don't know if we just couldn't recognize his picture because
real.
Sydney insists he had a ponytail, but I think that's just because she didn't like him and she doesn't like ponytails.
Well, on the right guy, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to offend all of the people with ponytails.
But
have a ponytail.
She insists, and I am firm in the fact that he does not have a ponytail.
Yeah, you were like, he just has longish,
wispy
hair.
under the hat cut.
Yeah.
But, we'll never know. But again, the benefits of seeing this guy in person, even though was we know that this person can do it. So I feel like that is a point in our favor. We can do it.
Yeah.
Kinda.
We also learned something from that talk too, which I think you already knew this, but it was interesting, which was 90% of podcasts don't go past 20 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And so this is episode 20 right here.
This is episode 20.
We're probably going to keep going.
We're going to keep
one
going.
Of us, suddenly
we love it.
Vanishes, I guess.
Vanishes. Well, then if one of us vanishes,
and we don't make it to
right
21.
now, I want to say the other person keep
knows where
going.
they are. Oh.
No, keep going with the podcast and talk about how they vanished. And we will transition into true crime. Other person.
For sure.
The podcast will live on.
Yeah.
It will be linked out and gone.
Ooh. Linked out and gone, but not forgotten.
But not forgotten. So just heard it.
We can get a 3-part docuseries on Netflix.
You heard it here first.
Maybe I should do it.
Maybe someone needs to vanish. We just mysteriously get a third person on the podcast that we then kill off immediately.
Yeah.
Syd and I hatch a scheme. We're we didn't know how to make the podcast work, so we just got a third and then got rid of them.
And it would be a him.
Now we're foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Subtle foreshadowing.
I'm trying to think what else happened during the week that was cool. I think we did a little sightseeing around Tucson. I mean, that's sort of just unrelated to work, but it was nice to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Take
and
some time to sort of
we got away from our kids.
Get away. Yeah.
Which was really nice and also sad, but really nice. We got to sleep in, even though we couldn't sleep past 5 a.m. because they're on Central Pacific time.
We were awake early as fuck.
Yeah, we were up at 5 a.m. driving around, going to Walgreens.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
The allergies.
I forgot about that.
The allergies in Tucson. If anybody goes, get local honey and allergy pills.
Yeah, take your Zyrtec for sure.
I was stuffed the fuck up the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to like go on a business trip for something that wasn't a shitty company or with a creative director that underappreciates you.
I know what I was going to say because you were talking about, and I've been to South by Southwest a few times, and this conference was, in my opinion, modeled sort of after South by Southwest, just on a smaller scale, but definitely like the same sort of vibe. And I think that Catherine, even our friend who we also did the panel with, also told me that there used to be more music in previous iterations of it. So I think there's still sort of like figuring out the right balance of like music and entrepreneurship and networking and all the things. So all I was going to say is, though, I used to go to South by Southwest more because I worked in Austin. And my impression of that conference versus my impression going as an employee for just like, you know, the purpose of like learning new things really versus going to a conference, although not the same conference, but the same idea, going as someone who was representing myself as like a brand or our brand, you know, the podcast and our business and stuff. It was totally different. Like I don't know. I just felt like I remember I used to not like really, I think back then I didn't really care about sort of how I presented myself and like didn't see all the opportunities that were actually there in front of me. And this time I definitely had like more of that mindset, which was cool. Cause I guess, I don't know, just feel like I've, you know, matured, I guess. And
I'm like, again, networking for like somebody's ad agency is like
totally different
than like trying to get your own thing going.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, South by Southwest is a whole different thing than when I lived in Austin in 2010. I think it was 2011.
Well, yeah, it started off originally as like a music thing too.
But I hated it because I was a bartender and I didn't and I didn't have a car. And so I used to have to take like taxis to work. And when South by Southwest, this was like before Uber and Lyft. And so like when South by Southwest was on, like you couldn't get a taxi and you just had to like walk all the way to work.
So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, like skateboard or take somebody's bike to work. And like, it's just, you know.
But I bet you made better money then because there was like more people at the bar.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, you would think you
but
would,
then they wouldn't
but people didn't. Like it's like the regulars would always take care of me at the bar I would work at, and the people that were just in by South by were like rude and like didn't tip as much.
Yeah,
they were just like, and you know, just a bunch of like, because South by Southwest is not cheap.
No,
it's like
certainly not
it's
now.
Expensive. So like you spent all your money on tickets, you're not going to tip your bartender. Like grow up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it's super like international too. Like I mean, you know, so there's different like people don't like in America. It's kind of the only place where people tip. So it's kind of interesting to think about like, you know, people.
Yeah, and I have a whole thing about it's like people that come over here from places that you don't have to tip. They know. They know that you have to tip over here. They know that it's like, and yes, like I'm not going to
get.
But
they probably still don't know like how much
they do. I have like so many British friends that are, and I'm gonna generalize.
But like non-English speaking places too. I don't know. I just feel like they're so.
Well, all I know is the Brits are
Plus, if you're drunk,
all my British friends are cheap as fuck, and they know you're supposed to tip, and they just don't. And they say it's because I'm British, and I'm like, you know, you have to tip.
They're like, no, I don't, because I'm British.
Yeah, and they're like, no, I'm British. And I was like, no, and you know, I'm not gonna get into the whole thing about how like people in the service industry should make a livable wage and blah blah blah, but like that's not the reality of the situation, is that they don't, and so they do depend, and it's it's like it is everyone's responsibility if you're gonna like go to a place for a service, like you have to tip because because we have shitty rules about it in America.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So suck it up if you want to go to eat. And if you don't want to fucking tip, just eat at your fucking house or drink at your fucking house. Anyway, that really went off the rails. I'm just passionate.
I know. I mean, yeah, I agree. Obviously, also now, like, all I do is eat at my house, so I don't even.
You don't have to worry about it.
Get the opportunity to tip.
But like,
but I would, obviously.
But like, that's the thing. Like, if
did the service route,
if you're coming over here from a different place, you're going to do research on where you're going to stay and where you're going to, like, you know what I mean? You're doing the research. So like, you
did the research.
You know what I mean? Like,
besties.
you did the research, besties. You're not just coming over here blind. Like, I know nothing about America. Like, you have Google Translate. Like, something's going to come up telling you you're supposed to fucking tip, and you're going to ignore it because if you're an asshole, and you're going to do it if you're not.
South by Southwest also now has like a lot more of the film component too, which is that's different too than it was when it originally started. So like indie films, and you know, not only that, like there's obviously
and a
like,
lot
big
more
movie
of like
stars and stuff there too. But
the corporate like all advertising agencies
exclusively, brands have taken over, which is what I mean. I think that's where the real money is for these people who like organize the conferences. So that's probably like the ultimate goal is to get like, get brands that want to come and like do these big activations and spend all this money to be there.
But that's what makes it start to suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. And that's just inevitable. And also the last time I was at South by Southwest, which was 2022. Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. I went with
Were you
the
pregnant?
company. No, I wasn't pregnant.
But Hale's 3.
Yeah, I had him in 2021, so I was not pregnant in 2022.
Right, okay.
But anyway, I just noticed it's gotten so big that it's almost kind of hard. It almost makes it harder to network when there's so many people in the room. It's a little bit more intimidating. And like this conference was a much smaller conference, and it's you're in a room and you're starting to see the same people at, different, we're going to the same talks or we're passing each other at the same, places. There's a few venues. And so you kind of like get to know the people that are there. And I think that's cool. Cause it's not just like, hey, how are you? Here's my card. And like, I'll never see you again. It's like, oh, kept seeing that person over and over again. And
right.
Whatever. It was cool.
Yeah.
So
I think that's like, again, the whole meeting face-to-face thing is something that kind of was lost with COVID. And it's nice to, be back out in society with like-minded people and like actually, again, be like talking about something that you care about, which is this podcast, and like trying to like start our own situation so that we don't have to work for the man. We don't have
Guy Raz was at this.
Guy Raz was there.
Successful podcast. He was kind of like the headliner of the festival. And Reggie Watts.
And Reggie Watts was the headliner.
Was there too.
We did not see him.
No, we didn't. But yeah, we had really good food.
Yeah,
we did.
Tucson. Shout out Tucson for
visit Tucson.
Visit Tucson. And this podcast brought to you by Tucson Tourism Board.
Here's our discount code for Tucson. Linked out pod 10. You get 10% off of Tucson.
You get 10% off Tucson. 10 off Tucson.
10 off Tucson.
No, anything.
We need a code.
Just go anywhere.
If anybody at Visit Tucson is listening, we need a code.
Yeah, we need a
discount code for Tucson.
We need a discount code. Literally can get you dozens of dollars.
Yeah.
Dozens of people. Dozens upon dozens of people will go to Tucson because of us, perhaps.
Perhaps.
But anyway, yeah, so I guess we just wanted to update and tell you that we've been off LinkedIn.
Oh my God, we took a whole week
off.
LinkedIn.
I feel so alive.
God, I feel refreshed. I feel like a new woman.
This is the longest anyone who's unemployed has ever been off that app. I probably checked on LinkedIn a few times, but before we went, I was like trying to start like posting more on LinkedIn. I told you this, and I can't remember if I mentioned it last week. Probably not, because we had our interview. That's right. But anyway, I've been trying to post more there because like I'm seeing so many people treat LinkedIn, like we say, as a content platform instead of a job finding platform, which I think is like a totally
valid and cool way to use LinkedIn versus,
yeah, me too.
you know, so I was like, right before we went, I was like asking this guy, there's this guy, I'm just going to say his name because he's like ubiquitous on LinkedIn right now. His name is Nick Power. And I asked him, I sent him a message.
That's his name.
That's his name.
I don't know.
Or at least that's his name on LinkedIn.
I don't know this man.
Well, you haven't been on LinkedIn.
I've been off
for a while. And
I'm off the sauce.
He blew up pretty recently. And so anyway, it might just be like I've found my way to that, but his posts are like consistently viral. And so I actually messaged him because I was just like, I don't want to become a LinkedIn influencer. That was not ever that's never been my goal, but I do want to, for the posts that I do about our podcast, for people to see them.
Right.
And so I was like, I've been thinking more and more about how to write these posts and changing them and doing this and doing that and seeing my impressions tank.
Right.
Like the more I think about it, the worse they do.
Right.
And so I was like, what is going on? And I kind of just like messaged him to like pick his brain a little bit. And he didn't necessarily like have like advice for how to promote the podcast, but he did have like general advice about how to like get your shit seen on LinkedIn if you're just posting content.
Right.
Which he just posts these like very short, like one sentence, maybe two types of content, and they're always kind of funny. Like,
are they like
jokes.
Writing or video?
They're just writing.
Okay.
And he like writes in all lowercase too, so he has like a very like, he's like carved out, you know, a niche, I guess, for himself. He doesn't use punctuation. He doesn't use capital letters. He like, you know, uses like the letter U instead of writing out U, whatever. So
it's casual writing.
Very casual. Yeah. And anyway, where is I going with this? Oh yeah. Well, I took the week off last week, and even though I was like about to start posting more, but it was so funny because I was like, well, like the pressure to like come up with something like short and funny to say, I didn't feel because I just was like not thinking about LinkedIn. And then as soon as we got back and I like got back on, I was like, oh, I should really write something like, you know, short and funny about our conference or just something. Like I should make some observation. And then I was like, God damn it, I hate LinkedIn again, but for a different reason now, which is just like now
I really hate it.
Now I just feel like when I go on there, like I'm like trying to perform, you know, and it's like for who? Because like 10 people are looking at my content.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of good advice to do. Like to kind of like look at that guy's, I'm going to look at that guy. I was trying to pull him up.
Right,
while I was talking. So sorry.
She got distracted.
I did. I was trying to pull that guy up.
I'll send him to you after this. But you guys, you just look him up. Nick Power. It's he's just like made a. He posts like he said he posts like 6 to 8 times a day, sometimes less than that, but sometimes as much as that.
How many people, like how many like followers does he have on LinkedIn, and like
now I think he probably has a lot. I haven't looked in a while. He probably has, you know, quite a few now, because I'm telling you, he's constantly going. But he was like, and his advice too was kind of like, you get like 10 people who are like consistently engaging with your stuff. Then you have 20, then you get 30. And he's like, and it kind of, when you kind of start to like hit that slope, I get the sense that it's like, you know, you go fast from, what is it? Exponential. You grow exponentially, I guess.
Well, that's bad news for me because I was getting a lot of traction on LinkedIn and then I dropped off.
Yeah. Well, no, but that means the next time you do, hopefully, then you'll still get.
Maybe LinkedIn will be like, she's mad at me.
Yeah.
Because
I think LinkedIn is mad at me.
TikTok kind of does that sometimes. Like, if you don't post for a really long time, they go, she's mad at me. And then they like
boost your
post. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to give her a little.
I'm so glad she's back.
We're going to give her a little taste of.
Yeah. Let's give her a little serotonin.
I mean, you just can't beat that algorithm.
No.
It's proprietary. No one's gonna. Sorry, Zuckerberg, you're never gonna get that algorithm. Even if they sell fucking TikTok to you, they're not gonna give you that algorithm. It's really good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe LinkedIn has similar algorithm where they just are like, well, she's been off for a while. Maybe we should give her a little boost.
Yeah. Now that she's back, we should reward her.
We should reward her for still being unemployed. Come on over here.
She's still on LinkedIn. No,
here's a job for here. We're gonna reward her by showing her a job at a fucking preschool as a janitor.
No,
does that match your skill set? No, bitch.
And it's fine if it does. It just doesn't match yours. And it's fine if it does.
Yeah, it's fine if it does, but just like read the room, read my profile.
No,
linked
never.
out. linked out.
She's linked.
Sorry, I'm not a sanitation specialist. I'm not certified for this. Thanks for letting me know, though. If I have any people in sanitation, I'll be sure to pass this along to them. Anyway,
I guess that pretty much wraps up our week in Tucson, though.
Yeah, that wraps up our week in Tucson, and again,
our business
on the job front. I mean, I've been really unresponsive to job. Like I don't have anything in the pipeline. I did get I will give an update of a place that like I went on all those one of the places I went on 4 interviews at, and then they asked me to take a copy test.
Was that the personality test one or no?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the personality test one.
Okay, yeah.
And
also the who would you go to dinner with one.
Who would you go to dinner with? They were the ones that sent me an email like in between the holiday break that was like, yes, you're still in the running.
Yes. And then they've sent you another like that since then too.
They've sent me another one like that since then. And then finally I was just like, hey, you guys. I sent them an email and I was like, hey, like we've been doing this for a while. Like,
what are we doing?
What's going on? And they were like, oops, sorry. We moved. And my email, you know, what's really funny is my email was like, I knew I didn't get that job, but I asked them for feedback. So I was like, hey, like it would help me in and I phrased it like this. I said, it would help me in my job search if you could give me feedback on like why I didn't get this position, basically. And they sent me back an automated, like it wasn't an automated response because the guy specifically emailed me back and was like, hey, Brit, like, sorry, we didn't get back to you sooner, but we have moved forward with other candidates. And I was like, obviously it's been a year. Like I know you've moved forward with other candidates. I was just like I stated in my previous email, like he didn't read the email. Yeah. Like, cause I was like, I just wanted to know if you had any feedback for me because it would help with my job search moving forward. And I didn't hear anything from them. No, and you never will. I basically like highlighted the part in the previous email.
Refer back to my previous email.
And I bolded it and I was like, I was just like, as I said, and I just like quoted it. And I was like, I just wanted to know if you had any feedback because it really would help me in my job search moving forward. And being that I spent so much time applying to this job out of my life.
You know what you should ask them? They're never going to give you feedback, but you know what you should ask them is if they would be willing to do an episode of the podcast. And we could ask them, why is this your interview process? Why is this how could this be your hiring process? Why is this your hiring process? How does this benefit you or anyone?
It's also so
just come on the podcast. We want to talk. We just want to talk.
We just want to talk. It's also so rude, like to be like, oh, sorry, like the way that he never said anything, and the way that he sent me an email back was like as if I was sitting there waiting for this job, which like. I mean,
which maybe you were, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't,
but like, if I was sitting there waiting for the job and you didn't,
even more rude.
You didn't tell me you were moving forward with other candidates until I emailed you.
Yeah.
no sense of urgency. What you should have done was right after you sent that second you're still in the running email to me, when and if you actually did decide to move forward with other candidates, or when you decided to not hire me, you should send me a fucking email saying, I'm sorry, we're not hiring you.
Yeah.
Fucking call it a day.
Call it a day.
Anyway,
Be done with it.
This is not surprising, but
No, of course not.
it's like you're never surprised, but like just the new.
You're never surprised. You're always disappointed.
You're always disappointed. Just the new ways that people use to fuck with you is actually astounding.
No, I know.
Like you don't think that you can get.
Everyone's so creative. Like
you don't think that an experience could be like worse than the last one, and then somebody manages to like top it off. You're like shit. Well, like here's a shit sundae, and here's a fucking cherry right on top of it.
Yep.
Like
eat up, bitch.
Shit sundae. Here you go. Here's a spoon also made out of shit.
And actually, you dropped it and you don't even get to eat it. You dropped your cone.
You dropped your cone.
And it landed upside down.
Your shit sundae and your shit cone and your shit spoon are all on the floor.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It's a mess.
It's a fucking mess, and you have to clean it up, but you're still not going to get the fucking job.
Yeah, you have to clean it up, and it'll always be a little sticky.
It's always going to be sticky,
in that
and
spot.
they're going to keep asking you to mop, even though you're not getting paid.
Wow.
Lots of cleaning.
That was a good one. That was a good one. And honestly, we didn't even talk about chickens or eggs in that one.
We didn't talk about chickens at all.
That feels like a good place. That feels like a good place to leave it.
Feels like a good place to leave it. So,
all right, linked outies.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you guys.
We'll see you
guys.
We'll see you. We'll see you. We'll see you when we see you.
We'll see you. We'll call you.
We'll talk to you next Wednesday, same time, same channel.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give us a 5-star review. Email us at linkedoutpod@gmail.com and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at linkedoutpod. Your support means everything, and we fucking love you. Mwah.
That was cute.
Bye, bestie.